The house that learned my name. I never planned to stay the night. I told myself that as I stood in front of the house, keys cold in my palm, rain soaking through my shoes. The realtor had said, just check for leaks, maybe rodents, and I had nodded like someone who didn't grow up hearing stories about places that watched you back. The house belonged to my late uncle, a man I barely knew and everyone avoided. No wife. No kids. No visitors. Just letters that stopped arriving years before he died. The house sat at the end of a dead street, sagging inward like it was tired of pretending to stand. Its windows were dark, but not empty. I felt it immediately, that sense of being expected. I unlocked the door. The smell hit first. Not rot. Not mold. Something warmer. Lived in. Like breath trapped too long. I told myself old houses always smelled strange and stepped inside. The door shut behind me without a sound. I froze, hands still on the knob, listening. Nothing. No wind. No settling wood. Just silence, thick enough to press against my ears. I laughed under my breath and reminded myself I was an adult with a phone, a car, and a very rational explanation for everything. The hallway stretched farther than it should have. I remembered the exterior clearly, this place wasn't that big. Yet the hall seemed to narrow and lengthen at the same time, like it was adjusting itself around me. I said my own name out loud, just to hear something human. The sound didn't echo. It sank. I walked room to room, narrating everything in my head like I was recording proof. Living room, dustless. Furniture covered but arranged carefully, as if someone had planned to return. Kitchen, clean. Sink dry. No dead insects anywhere. That should have scared me more than it did. Then I noticed the photographs. They lined the wall near the stairs, frames of different styles, different ages. Family photos, mostly. My uncle as a child. A man I assumed was my grandfather. Faces blurred at the edges, like they'd been smudged intentionally. And then I saw myself. Not recently. Younger. Me at maybe 10 years old, sitting on my parents' couch, holding a game controller. I stared at the photo until my vision throbbed. I knew that moment. I remembered the exact level I was stuck on. I remembered the sound of my mother washing dishes in the other room. I whispered that it wasn't possible. The house creaked. Not randomly. Not from age. It creaked like acknowledgement. I backed away from the photos and nearly fell when my heel hit the bottom stair. The staircase wasn't there before. I knew it wasn't. I had walked this wall twice. But now it rose upward, carpeted in dark red, worn in the center like it had been climbed for decades. I didn't want to go up. I went up. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if gravity itself thickened the higher I climbed. The air grew warmer. Familiar. The second-floor hallway was longer than the first, doors lining both sides. Some were open. All of them led to rooms I recognized. My childhood bedroom. My college apartment. My first studio with the cracked ceiling and the neighbor who played music too loud. I stepped into each one slowly, my heart pounding harder with every confirmation. The rooms weren't perfect replicas. They were memories. Objects slightly off. Posters hung where I'd once thought about hanging them but never did. Books I meant to read but hadn't yet sat on shelves beside ones I loved. The house wasn't copying my life. It was copying me. I started to panic. I pulled out my phone. No signal. No Wi-Fi. The screen dimmed faster than it should have, like something was draining it. When I tried the flashlight, it flickered once and died. In the dark, I heard movement. Footsteps, but not quite. Too many joints bending at the wrong rhythm. I told myself it was the house settling. I told myself it was rats. I told myself anything. Then I heard my voice. It came from the end of the hallway, calm and conversational. I didn't want you to be scared. I stood frozen, throat locked shut. The voice sounded exactly like me, but softer. Kinder. Like the version of myself that spoke in my thoughts, not aloud. I've been alone a long time, it continued. Your uncle helped, but he wasn't a good fit. Too loud inside. Too many regrets. Something shifted in the darkness ahead. Tall. Thin. Wrongly proportioned. I couldn't see it clearly, but my mind filled in gaps I didn't want filled. I asked what it was. The thing laughed, my laugh. I'm a house, it said. I'm a memory container. I keep what's given to me. People leave pieces of themselves everywhere. Most places forget them. I don't. I wanted to run. My legs didn't listen. You left so much, it said gently. You don't even remember all of it. I do. The walls around me began to whisper. Not words, thoughts. Old ones. Embarrassing ones. Cruel ones. Fears I'd never said aloud. Every secret shame I thought had died in my head crawled back into the air. I screamed for it to stop. It stepped closer. I just want to finish the collection, it said. Then you can rest. No more forgetting. No more losing pieces. I understood then. My uncle hadn't died here by accident. He had been kept. Preserved. His memories built into the walls, his routines worn into the floors. I was next. I forced my body to move. I ran, not toward the stairs, but through the nearest door. The room shifted as I entered it, walls breathing, furniture melting away until I stood in a place I hadn't thought about in years. The hospital room. My father's last day. The beeping machines. The way I never said goodbye properly. The guilt hit me so hard I dropped to my knees. That one's my favorite, the house said softly. You visit it so often. I sobbed. I begged. I promised anything. The thing knelt in front of me, face finally visible. It was me, but hollowed out. Eyes too deep. Skin stretched thin, like it was wearing my features instead of owning them. You don't need to be afraid, it said, placing a hand on my chest. You'll live here forever. I felt something pull. Not my body, but something behind my eyes. Like a hook sinking into memory itself. Images rushed out of me, birthdays, failures, smells, half-formed dreams. The house groaned in pleasure, walls shuddering as they absorbed everything. In desperation, I thought of one thing only. Nothing. I emptied my mind. No names. No images. No regrets. I focused on the space between thoughts, the silence I'd never paid attention to before. The pulling slowed. The house screamed. It wasn't prepared for emptiness. I ran. I don't remember how I escaped. I remember rain. Mud. My car door slamming shut. I remember driving until dawn without knowing where I was going. The house was gone when I looked back. Just an empty lot. No records. No listing. No inheritance. People tell me I'm lucky. But sometimes I forget things. Important things. Names. Faces. Pieces of myself that feel missing. And sometimes, when I say my name out loud, I swear I hear a house somewhere far away creak in recognition.